tries to escape into vague claims about happiness, Xena drags her right back to the original question. No pivot allowed, no package deals accepted. If Candace wants to claim that women have been devalued, she needs to own it and explain it. We can talk about happiness later.
But you're saying that according to you, women have been devalued?
Not according to me. According to the time in which people are getting married, how difficult it is for people to find a partner that's willing to commit to them. And I think that's in large part due to the fact that women are offering sex for free, because it was a major component of the sexual revolution was this idea.
So a woman's worth is tied to her sexuality.
Despite Candace's continued evasiveness, she's actually just implicitly answered the question. The metrics she's citing, marriage timing, finding committed partners, these don't measure women's worth as human beings. They measure whether some men consider them wife material. And yes, material is the right word to use here. So after all of this back and forth, after this laborious pressure, Candace has retreated to the mere trivial claim. I mean, imagine if she stood up on stage and said, "My first claim is that some men won't want to marry women who have experienced the same sexual freedoms that men enjoy." Would anyone care? Would that justify the entailment of rolling back 60 years of women's rights? Of course not. It's pathetic. It means nothing. But that is exactly what Xena has managed to expose, simply by calmly asking basic, clarifying questions. Fantastic. Now, this retreat from bold claim to boring one isn't just evasiveness, it's a specific rhetorical strategy. Candace didn't stumble into this pattern by accident. She's executing a well-known debate tactic that has a name. It's the Motte and Bailey fallacy. It occurs when someone makes a bold, controversial claim, the Bailey, but then when challenged, retreats to a much safer, more defensible position, the Motte. For example, someone might claim that taxation helps no one. That's your Bailey. But when pressed about roads and schools, retreat to, well, I was just, I think that the government should be more efficient with the money that it has. That's your Motte. The first is radical and hard to defend. The second is reasonable, but boring, it's trivial. And this is what Candace is doing here. She came out swinging with the provocative claim that the sexual revolution has devalued women, implying that their worth as human beings has diminished. That's the Bailey, the exciting position that makes you a megastar.
My first claim is that the sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely less happy.
But under the tiniest bit of pressure from Xena,
Sexual.
she retreats to the Motte, not as human beings, just in terms of finding relationships.
According to the time in which people are getting married, how difficult it is for people to find a partner that's willing to commit to them.
Oh, so the incredible revelation is that women embracing sexual freedom could face challenges attracting conservative men. That's it. Some men prefer women who align with their traditional values. That's hardly groundbreaking. The intellectual dishonesty is staggering. You can't build a movement on some people have dating preferences, but you can build one on women have lost their value. So she makes this big claim to get attention, then retreats to the small claim when challenged, even just remotely challenged, just asked to clarify her view, all while pretending that she meant the small claim all along. But don't worry, she will be back to the big claim later on her podcast.
Women getting naked all the time on your screen
has devalued women. Just being naked, and has also made them, in the process, less happy, because who wants to be
naked to be heard?
With the debate now concluded, and the claim proven baseless, we could end it here. The claim is revealed to be trivial, it's vacuous. But let's examine what else Candace revealed in that exchange, because the mask slipped completely. Recall the deflection.
Not according to me.
She's desperately trying to wrap her personal moral outrage in the cloak of objective fact, as if marriage statistics somehow prove inherent worth, as if her judgment becomes universal truth just because she found some numbers. But it's not objective truth. It's just her opinion, dressed up in data, a personal preference, masquerading as sociological analysis. But the truly breathtaking part was this.
Women are offering sex for free.
For free, like it's a commodity, like it's something that should be withheld until proper payment in the form of commitment or marriage has been secured. This is loaded language again, but it's more pernicious than before. The phrase for free doesn't just describe, it prescribes. It assumes sex is inherently transactional, that it should have a price, that women who don't charge are making a business error. So before we even get to the debate about whether sex should be viewed economically, the language has already decided. Of course it's a product. The only only question is pricing.
What the feminists have done is like every 19-year-old boy's dream, is that every girl is easy and accessible, and you don't have to work to go get sex.
Candace is evidently not even trying to hide the transactional view anymore. Women's sexuality is a product, and they've crashed their own market value by not maintaining artificial scarcity. This is sexual economics at its most grotesque. In Candace's world, women aren't people making choices about their own bodies. They're vendors who have foolishly underpriced their goods. The sexual revolution didn't liberate women, it tricked them into a bad business model.
The sexual revolution, everybody sleeping with everybody, living in a commune, sex, love, rock and roll.
And Xena, brilliant as ever, cuts through the fluff with surgical precision.
So a woman's worth is tied to her sexuality.
That single line says it all, because that is what this is really about, isn't it? Not happiness, not fulfillment, not even traditional values, just the simple medieval idea that women's value as human beings is determined by their sexual history.
It's not tied to, well, absolutely. If you're going to be having multiple partners, you are going to be devaluing yourself.
And under continued pressure, Candace is starting to explicitly articulate her position. But again, so what? The women who embrace sexual freedom, who celebrate the liberation that came from the revolution, do you really think they're out there desperately trying to bag a traditional conservative husband? These are fundamentally incompatible worldviews. It's like saying that vegans have devalued themselves in the eyes of butchers. Who cares? They're not shopping there anyway. The whole premise assumes that conservative male approval is the ultimate measure of female worth. But the women Candace is condemning have already rejected the entire value system. They're not playing that game.
You're worth less as a human being.
Not as a human being, just, you know, in terms of trying to have a partnership and a productive relationship. Certainly men are not going to be clamoring to have a relationship with somebody when there's the market is throwing them.
Another smart move from Xena. She's not only gotten Candace to clarify what she's saying, but more importantly, what she's not saying. With those 4 words, not as a human being.
Not as a human being.
Candace has fully committed herself to the weakest, most banal version of her thesis. She's explicitly admitting that women haven't lost objective worth. They haven't been devalued in any meaningful sense. They're not worth less as human beings. With just simple, calm, clarifying questions, Xena has exposed that Candace is saying essentially nothing. Which brings us back to the obvious response. Who cares? This is like warning atheists that they can't become priests. The atheists aren't applying for seminary. They've already rejected those values.
Certainly men are not going to be clamoring to have a relationship with somebody when there's the market is throwing them.
A man's response to your actions is what defines your worth, right?
Now that Xena has gotten Candace to clarify that she's making the weaker claim, she goes for the deeper implication. What does this worldview actually mean?
A man's response to your actions is what defines your worth, right?
This question is exquisitely precise. It strips away all the market metaphors and economic language to reveal the core belief. Women's worth is defined by the approval of a specific subset of male approval. Not fulfillment, not professional achievement, not self-actualization, not even happiness, Candace's supposed second concern.
And made them infinitely less happy.
This is masterful questioning because Xena, it seems, understands that sometimes you don't need to refute a position. You just need to clearly articulate it. Get someone to state their view plainly, explore what it actually entails, and often the audience will recognize how egregious it is without any additional commentary. And Candace, she's about to make it even worse.
Yeah, well, I would say that I would argue that what makes women actually happy is family. So if you're interrupting, so just to connect the dots for you, when women are having sex with multiple partners, it devalues them for men.
There it is. Men's response defines women's worth. She said it. But notice how quickly she tries to pivot away from this admission. Suddenly, we're talking about family and happiness again.
When women are having sex with multiple partners, it devalues them for men, right?
For men. So,
yes, so
men define a woman's worth.
Once again, Xena is trying to get Candace to simply express her view.
Men define a woman's worth.
Well, I would say both of them kind of define one another's worth because I think the ultimate goal for people to be happy is actually family.
Notice the desperate backpedaling. Both of them kind of define each other's worth. But that's not what she's been arguing. is it? She hasn't said a word about men devaluing themselves through sexual activity. This sudden attempt at gender parity is pure damage control. She knows how bad it sounds to say that only women's worth is determined by conservative male approval. And that pivot back to family,
The ultimate goal for people to be happy is actually family.
it's a red herring. They're not discussing what makes people happy at this point. They're discussing who or what gets to determine human worth.
Well, I would say both of them kind of define one another's worth, because I think the ultimate goal for people to be happy is actually family.
Okay, so you're saying
Not work.
in all cases, a woman is going to be more fulfilled in regards to family. Like
That's
and this-
exactly what I'm saying.
All cases. Every woman, no exceptions. Big claim. Your sister the surgeon, unfulfilled. Your childless aunt who runs a non-profit, empty inside. Marie Curie should have focused on the kids. Every nun who has ever lived, tragically misguided. This is a hasty generalization in its purest form, when someone draws a sweeping conclusion about an entire group based on limited evidence. Like saying, I met two rude New Yorkers, therefore all New Yorkers are rude. Or, my grandfather smoked and lived to 90, so cigarettes aren't harmful. Except Candace is making claims about what fulfills half the human population.
in all cases, a woman is going to be more fulfilled in regards to family. Like
That's
and this-
exactly what I'm saying.
What's her evidence that all women need family for fulfillment? Her personal beliefs? Some women that she knows? Conservative opinion pieces? This isn't just wrong, it's breathtakingly arrogant.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
To claim you know what fulfills every single woman on earth, that you've discovered the one universal path to female happiness, requires a level of presumption that borders on the divine.
Your gut is divine.
And the irony is that Candace is literally spending her day away from her family, on a debate stage, building her media empire. By her own logic, she's choosing unfulfillment.
and this is going to work in all cases. You're saying there's no individual case in which a woman can feel, fulfilled without being tied to other people in the case of family.
I think there could be an exceptional case for everything. I think there are exceptional cases, but I think that if we all start trying to be the exception as opposed to recognizing the rule,
Hold on, that's quite the rhetorical sleight of hand. 30 seconds ago, it was all cases.
In all cases, and this-
exactly what I'm saying.
Now, suddenly, there are exceptions.
There could be an exceptional case for everything.
Way to immediately backpedal. But don't worry, we're told that these exceptions don't count because, well, Candace has decided that they're not the rule.
If we all start trying to be the exception as opposed to recognizing the rule,
And notice that phrase, the loaded language of trying to be the exception.
if we all start trying to be the exception,
As if women who find fulfillment outside of the family are doing it out of spite. As if they're looking at happy mothers and thinking, you know what, I'm going to show them. And I'm going to do it by being fulfilled by friends and career just to be difficult. Candace has committed an appeal to normacy, the fallacy that what's common must be correct and that everyone should conform to the statistical average. It's like saying that most people are right-handed, so we should discourage left-handedness. Just because something is common doesn't make it universally correct or necessary for everyone.
people in life are more fulfilled when they achieve a family unit and when they have children, women in particular, especially aspiring to children, then you are going to end up with a bunch of people who are unhappy because your job cannot replace the feeling of having a family.
And there is a false dichotomy. Who said anything about replacing?
Your job cannot replace the feeling of having a family.
Maybe some women want both, like Candace Owens. Maybe some want neither. Maybe fulfillment isn't a zero-sum game where you have to choose between career or family. But the real tell is how quickly her all-women claim crumbled under the slightest pressure. One clarifying question from Xena, and suddenly there are exceptions everywhere.
There could be an exceptional case for everything.
But they just don't matter because Candace has appointed herself as the arbiter of which women's experiences count. Notice the pattern. These bold, supremely confident, sweeping claims that sound so powerful on stage, but with the tiniest amount of pressure, not even asking her to defend her position, just to clarify it, she crumbles into qualifications, exceptions, and backpedaling.
There could be an exceptional case.
It's almost as if these talking points are designed for applause lines, not for actual scrutiny.
So what you're saying is we need to look at every individual case and see what is going to fulfill you or what is going to I guess, essentially predict your happiness more. Because if we look at, for example, the Nordic countries.
And here comes the kill shot. Zena's about to introduce the actual data. So not feelings, not opinions, not what conservative men prefer, actual data about women's happiness.
These are countries, I'm talking about like Sweden, Denmark, right? These countries tend to be like, I think in the past 14 years, they've been ranked as the highest in happiness and marital satisfaction from women, right?
She goes on to point out that these same Nordic countries like Sweden and Denmark are also the most sexually liberal, with comprehensive sex education and progressive attitudes towards women's sexuality. And as Zena notes, they have lower STD rates too as a direct result of the comprehensive sex education that Candace would presumably oppose. So let's get this straight. The countries where women have the most sexual freedom are also where women report being happiest. The places that most fully embrace the sexual revolution have the most satisfied women. That's awkward for Candace's thesis, because if the sexual revolution devalued women and made them infinitely less happy,
Everybody's sleeping with everybody.
shouldn't we see the opposite? Shouldn't sexually conservative countries have the happiest women? And here's what Zena doesn't even mention, but we know from decades of research. Countries with greater gender equality tend to have higher female life expectancy, higher levels of female education, and higher general life satisfaction. But here's the beautiful part. Zena's not even arguing that sexual freedom causes happiness. She's just pointing out that Candace's claim that it causes misery is demonstrably false. The data doesn't just fail to support Candace, it actively contradicts her.
So I think you might be referring to this sort of mass-produced study that was a part of like a behavioral science study, which said that women were the happiest women in the world were women that were actually unmarried and had careers.
Wait, what? Zena just gave specific data about Nordic countries, marital satisfaction, and happiness rates.
They've been ranked as the highest in happiness and marital satisfaction from women, right?
Where did Candace get unmarried women with careers from?
The happiest women in the world were women that were actually unmarried and had careers.
She's literally responding to data that wasn't presented.
No, okay, well,
I'm
there
talking about
was.
reported happiness.
Clear, simple correction. Different studies, different data, different everything.
No, okay, well,
I'm
there
talking about
was.
reported happiness.
Okay, sure. I'm talking about the same thing. It was reported happiness, but it could be a different. There's tons of studies. The point being is that in 2023, there was this massive scandal where they recognized that a lot of these studies that were being produced, behavioral science, was proven to be a complete fraud.
This is absolutely stunning. She just admitted that she might be talking about different studies. It could be different.
It could be a different. There's tons of studies.
But then immediately dismisses Zena's data as fraudulent anyway. She hasn't even confirmed what research they're discussing, and yet she's already declaring it fake.
A lot of these studies that were being produced, behavioral science, was proven to be a complete fraud.
This reveals everything about Candace's approach to evidence. She has a preloaded script ready to dismiss any study that contradicts her worldview. Here, happiness research. Well, deploy the behavioral science fraud talking point.
Behavioral science was proven to be a complete fraud.
It doesn't matter if it's the right study, the right country, or even the right decade.
There's tons of studies.
If it challenges her thesis, it must be fake.
Complete fraud.
She's not evaluating evidence, she's playing defense. The moment data threatens her position, she reaches for the nearest dismissal. Accuracy be damned.
I'm talking about the same thing. It was reported happiness.
Seriously, I absolutely insist that we really digest what's happening here, because this should be career ending. Should. This moment utterly exposes Candace. You see, this isn't just a mistake, it's a complete unmasking. She's admitting, I don't need to know what evidence you're presenting, I already know it's fake because it disagrees with me.
Was proven to be a complete fraud.
Candace has no idea what study Zena is citing.
I'm talking about the same thing. It was reported happiness.
Immediately declares that it's fraudulent
Behavioral science was proven to be a complete fraud.
and confidently references a completely different study.
In 2023, there was this massive scandal.
Francesca Gino's data manipulation in 4 studies. But Gino's fraud has absolutely nothing to do with Nordic happiness data. Nothing. In fact, get this. The studies in question are not about reported happiness.
I'm talking about the same thing. It was reported happiness.
And the Nordic study that Zena's making reference to isn't a behavioral study.
Behavioral science was proven to be a complete fraud.
Zena's talking about 14 years of UN happiness reports, national statistics, population level data. Candace is talking about one professor who faked some lab experiments. And for crying out loud, note how smoothly, how confidently she does it. That confidence is the tell. This is practiced deception.
Was proven to be a complete fraud.
She's showing us that her facts don't care about your feelings baseline operates, would you know, on pure feeling. The feeling that any contradictory evidence must be wrong.
I'm talking about the same thing. It was reported happiness.
The fact that she can so smoothly dismiss research that she can't even identify tells us that she does this constantly. How many debates has she won by confidently declaring evidence fraudulent without ever examining it? How many audiences has she convinced with the same sleight of hand? What Xena has exposed here is that Candace starts with her conclusions, dismissing any evidence that doesn't fit. That is not reasoning. It is exactly the kind of emotional, faith-based thinking that she claims her opposition engages in.
The data that we can look at that I think shows, and you can let me know if you agree with this, if women, and under the imagination of the feminist umbrella, were really unhappy when they were in the home, and then entering the workforce has made women happier and infinitely feeling more secure about themselves, we could, I think, reasonably expect that there would have been a decrease in suicide rates amongst women.
And here we go again, yet another desperate pivot. After failing to defend her devaluation claim,
Women have devalued themselves.
12 seconds later.
You're
Do
worth
agree with
less
that. Yeah,
as a human being.
not as a human being, just, you know, in terms of trying to have a partnership and a productive relationship.
after retreating from all women need families,
In all cases, a woman is going to be more fulfilled in regards to family. Like
That's
and
exactly what I'm saying.
A few inches later.
There could be an exceptional case for everything.
after dismissing Nordic happiness data
Behavioral science was proven to be a complete fraud.
she couldn't even identify correctly,
It could be a different, there's tons of studies.
Candace reaches for the nuclear option, suicide statistics.
We could, I think, reasonably expect that there would have been a decrease in suicide rates.
But watch how Xena handles this.
you would have to go ahead and show how that correlation, right, is going to be a direct cause of women going into the workforce.
Clean. One sentence. She's not taking the bait about whether rates have increased. She's simply asking, where's the causal link? And just like Xena, we're going to simply grant Candace's premise here to emphasize that she needs to show the correlation.
Okay, well, how can we, let's
deviate
measure,
from
then you have
sanity.
to give me a way that we can measure happiness. How can we
Right.
measure happiness? So I would say suicide rates would be a good thing to look at. Drug, alcohol
What?
consumption would be a
Of
good
course,
thing
right?
to
But
Why would that be a good way to look at that? Oh. Candace. Hello. How are we doing? MKS. Fin Max. Looks too bright. That's not bright enough. Every time. Every time. All right, that should be fine. Oh, you know what's too bright? It's the fucking light in the back. Realize that thing's just like. There we go. That looks fine. All right. Hello, everyone. How we doing? I need to message that guy. I might be talking to someone today. We'll see. Oh my god. Actually, I can message him on here. On the Twitch.
It literally says. It literally says.
Literally.
35 of Celsius water.
2,000 people are watching her bake.
What temperature are you?
Jesus. Nice. You really can stream anything, can't you? Take note. Take note. Improvise, adapt, overcome. The fuck did his name go again? It was Vogues, that's right. Vogues.
Yo, what up? Yo, what up?
5 days ago. No, I need to whisper him, bro. I need to send a whisper. Damn it.
Yo, what up?
How do you send whisper?
Welcome to the chat.
Bro, I am retarded. I have no idea how to use Twitch. What do I do? So, how do you just send a whisper? How does one just do a whisper? Really have to go make a new one or whatever? Oh my.
Yo, what up?
Oof R. Why is it so difficult just to send a whisper? This is stupid. Why is it so difficult just to send a whisper? Oh no, I don't want no. It's under activity. Thank you.
Yo, what up?
Yes. Activity. Activity. Oh my. What if I press every button? You think that'll work? I feel like a boomer, bro. Wait, what do you mean? What do I do? Mark 5 is red. Okay. Vogue. Oh. No. Dude, here it comes. Whisper. I'm trying to send a whisper, Grand, and I'm actually just mentally retarded. I have no idea how to do it. So I'm going to see if I can do it in his chat. Oh. Click on username, scroll until you see whisper.
Yo, what up? Welcome to the chat.
This one? Bright red bubble? Click in chat, bright red bubble. I don't have a bright red bubble. Click in chat. In my stream chat. Oh. Ew. bright red bubble. Wait. Help. Open stream, click on Ubla's username. Got it, got it, got it. I'm channel. Boom. I'm boom. Click on Ubla's. Well, I'm not trying to send it to her. Or him. Him, sorry. I'm I'm trying to send it to Boaz. I'm gonna whisper you, hopefully. I'm gonna whisper you, hopefully. So this I have planned you know what? I'm just gonna open yours, Graham, real fast. This person. He's not live right now though. Are you not able to send whispers if they're not live? Oh my god, my mic. Need to fucking put it further away or something. Jesus Christ. Gain was too high. Holy moly.
Yo, what up? Well,
Good job. Good job. Chat appearance. Red bubble. Next to the 28. 28, 28, 28. 28, 28. Click that. Where is... Oh, right here. This one. This one. You just click it? I have whispers right here, but... Oh, wait. You can actually... Do you have to... You can search for their name in this. Oh, he has whispers blocked. That's why. Jesus. I don't have him as a friend on Discord yet, but I have him as a friend on Instagram. That is my whispers. I did it. I don't think anyone needs to see that stuff.
But we would have
Notice the further deflections. Xena asked for
Dude, Candace got fucking bodied in this.
causation between workforce
This
participation.
Xena girl or whatever her name is. This girl. She's probably one of the most like tactical and intense smart people I've seen on Jubilee so far. Like she's probably my favorite. She's like ruthless,
Workforce
dude.
participation and suicide.
show how that correlation, right, is going to be a direct cause.
Candice responds by asking how to measure happiness, a completely different question.
Then you have to give me a way that we can measure happiness.
Then she throws in more correlations.
Drug, alcohol consumption would be
Of course, right? But we would have
This
Yeah,
is
I'm gonna give him a
spectacular.
link
When
to Insta.
asked to
He's so don't mess this up. My other friend who's like good friends with him said that he is a police officer who works with ICE extensively, and he recently switched to Republican because Charlie Kirk's assassination. So I'm just kind of interested to see why. The main reason. Should be interesting though.
prove that A causes B, she responds by adding C and D into the mix. She's not establishing causation, she's just piling on more correlations, hoping the quantity will somehow transform into quality. But correlation stacking doesn't create causation. To name the fallacy,
Yeah,
these
to me
are
it doesn't make any
instances
sense,
of
but-
false cause, when someone assumes that correlation between things means that one caused the other. It's like arguing that smart
Isn't yeah. I mean, I think we don't really teach fallacies the right way, do we? He kind of, I mean, he has like a game, this guy, Rationality Rules. He has a whole game where he, like a board game called Debunked, where it's just nothing but fallacies, right? But, I mean, it looks okay. I feel like we learn fallacies the wrong way. Like, we should probably, people get told, like, what individual fallacies are being used, but they don't get told what they are most of the time. So there's, like, form fallacies, right? And then there's contextual fallacies, and then there's, like, informal ones and formal ones, right? And I feel like most people don't know that, but they do know what a straw man is, right? No, I've actually never looked up literature on this. Or I did back in fucking college for one paper one time, but that's about it. Oh, maybe, I mean, this would probably be a good place to go for that. The history. Introduction to Logic. Irving Copies. Never heard of that. Spanish? I don't want Spanish. Can't speak Spanish. Well, I have bad news. I seem to be missing a string again, right? Well, when you put guitar strings on a guitar, you're supposed to, you know, keep bending them and keep retightening them because they generally will go out of tune if you don't. And I didn't do that, so when I went to go tune it last night, I could feel it slipping and just crying out for help. And I was like, oh, okay. Absolutely not. I know exactly what I'm doing. I think I just played into the most stupid male stereotype known to man, but I know exactly what I'm doing. Ah. Right. What I could not remember is string length default. I think I have my string length a little off. I just want to look at a photo real fast. Intonations can be different for everyone. I'm gonna watch something while I do it. It shouldn't take that long, by the way. What I was doing before was way different than what I'm doing
Or
now.
that firefighters cause fire damage because they're always at fire scenes. You have to actually do the
I get it
work of
straight.
demonstrating
There we
that
go.
one thing directly caused the other, not just list more things that are
Great.
happening simultaneously. And
Fucking
Xena won't let her off the hook.
But
Stupid
we
quality.
can't
There
say,
we go.
oh, these two things are happening at the same time. This caused this other thing.
Xena hammers home the false cause fallacy,
Yeah.
and watch what happens next.
I don't know why my
Candace
intonation's so
actually
weird.
admits that she's right, but then immediately tries to make a correlation equals causation argument anyway.
That's right, but I do think that we can objectively say that women who are committing suicide rates more than they were in the 1950s, like it has actually.
You think you can objectively make a statement about that, Candace? Just, it's A to B. Women were able to now get jobs and get divorced. Now, suicide higher. Clearly fucking unhappy. Easy road. What? God, bro. What? So stupid.
Increased marginally.
Yes, that's right, she says, admitting that correlation doesn't equal causation, but then immediately tries to imply causation anyway. She can't help herself. But Xena isn't biting. She's not getting distracted with debates about historical suicide rates or the 1950s, and again, neither will we. She stays laser focused on the fundamental question.
How is it a cause of the workforce?
We're also binge drinking at a higher rate.
How's this
We're
cause of
taking
the
opioids
entering
at a
the
higher
workforce?
rate?
How is this a cause of entering
Because
the
I think
workforce?
women are being put on a pathway aspirationally.
But you're gonna have to. You're saying you think this, right? But where's the cause? Like you're not substantiating the claim. You're saying this is what I think. I'm seeing two.
And there it is, the complete breakdown. Candace can't answer the simple question, how is workforce participation causing these issues? She throws out more correlations, binge drinking, but she can't establish the causation.
We're also binge drinking at a higher rate.
She retreats to, I think women are being put on a pathway.
I think women are being put on a pathway aspirationally.
Pure speculation with no evidence. Xena's final point is devastating. You're saying you think this, right? But where is the cause?
You're saying you think this, right? But where's the cause?
After all the confident assertions, all the sweeping claims about devaluation and unhappiness, Candace is reduced to admitting that it's just what she thinks.
You're saying this is what I think. I'm seeing two.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you so much.
And that's how it ends. Not with a bang, but with Candace unable to establish basic causation for her thesis, saved by the bell. And honestly, what an unfortunate end. Candace was spiraling, and if they had allowed Xena to keep up the pressure, it would have become unbearably humiliating for Candace.
Complete fraud.
The relationship between societal changes and mental health is incredibly complex, but for this conversation, what matters is that Candace started with the bold claim that the sexual revolution devalued women and made them infinitely less happy.
The sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely less happy.
And ended unable to provide even causal evidence for either assertion.
You're saying you think this, right? But where's the cause?
She retreated from devalued as human beings to some men won't date them.
In terms of trying to have a partnership and a productive relationship,
she backpedaled from all women need family.
In all cases, a woman is going to be more fulfilled in regards to family. Like
that's exactly what I'm saying.
To there are exceptions, but we can ignore them.
There could be an exceptional case for everything.
She dismissed contradictory data as fraudulent.
Behavioral science was proven to be a complete fraud.
Without even identifying it correctly.
It could be there's tons of studies.
And finally, she confused correlation with causation so badly that even she had to admit that she was just sharing what she thinks.
I think women are being put on a pathway.
All because one person kept calmly asking, can you clarify what you mean? And where's your evidence?
You're saying you think this, right? But where's the cause?
That is the power of good philosophy. Sometimes you don't need to destroy someone's argument. Sometimes you just need to make them explain it clearly. And sometimes that's enough. But Xena's performance here wasn't just entertaining, it was instructive. She demonstrates some devastatingly effective conversational techniques that anyone can use when confronted with these sweeping provocative claims. And so, let's go through them. First, when someone makes a controversial claim, don't presume that everyone knows what they mean, even if you understand what they're really trying to communicate. Make them clarify, force them to be precise. In many cases, this is all you need to do. Second, when they present a dubious premise like suicide...
I had a friend message me and ask me, hey, why is the stock market dead again? And I'm like, well, it probably has something to do with the 100% tariffs on China again that Trump just announced randomly, if I'm not mistaken. Looks to be doing good. Wow. What the fuck? I'm still of the impression that this is going to be extremely bad in the future, okay? That's a 300 point drop. Oh my god. Let's see. Let's go by month. Actually, I'm gonna go by. Zoom in. Seems to be a lot of money leaving the market, but still, I have no idea how the markets were staying intact, but they're staying in the Nasdaq. Large traders are definitely leaving S&P though. I'm a little confused, but they're not going to the bonds. Where the fuck are they going? They're literally just taking their money out. But buying securities or something? Gold? Of course. Yeah, a lot of a gold bought. Funny. To this day, people still think gold is like, can you buy a house with gold? Oops. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read Mises. I'm going to read Mises. All right? I want to read the Mises because I'm actually very interested. Although that book is like 1 million pages, unfortunately for me. But it seems to be a very interesting book. So, can you get the fuck out of the way? Hate when it does. There we go. You know, I kind of want to know backstory. Centuries of accumulated wisdom. Radically changes the intellectual and political consensus of the day. Principles. So this is the magnum opus. Okay, I'm glad we found that. That's good. I'm gonna tune with the null. We'll do the null. Great. Totally in tune. Go. Sure. Read Missy's in the background.
Right then, let's
hit the
dive into
power.
this one, shall we? Emmanuel Todd's The Defeat of the West. Seems we're off on a bit of a geopolitical adventure today.
Indeed. Quite a deep dive, this one. Todd doesn't pull any punches, does he?
No, not at all. He's making some bold claims, that's for sure. Especially when it comes to the war in Ukraine. He's not treating it as some isolated incident.
He sees it as a symptom of something much larger, a symptom perhaps of the West's declining influence on the world stage.
Almost as if the whole idea of a Western-dominated world is being challenged, wouldn't you say?
Precisely. And what I find fascinating is how Todd goes about making his case. He doesn't limit himself to the usual political or military analysis.
He brings in everything, doesn't he? History, economics, family structures, even religion. It's quite the mix.
A real tapestry of ideas. He weaves all these threads together to explain how we got to this point and what it all means for the future.
Right, so let's try to untangle some of these threads, shall we? And I suppose the best place to start is with Russia itself. Todd argues that the West has fundamentally misunderstood Russia.
Yes, he really takes aim at that prevailing narrative,
What?
doesn't he? That idea of a weak and crumbling Russia on the verge of collapse. Instead, he points to its economic strength, particularly in agriculture.
That's an interesting point.
Russia, he argues, has the capacity to feed itself, and that's a major factor in its ability to withstand those sanctions, even those targeting its financial system.
A lot of people were surprised by that, weren't they? That Russia was able to weather those sanctions, especially those SWIFT network restrictions. Everyone was talking about that.
It certainly raised some eyebrows.
Anytime soon.
But Todd argues that this economic resilience is no accident. He points to deliberate policies like devaluing the ruble, strategic protectionism, moves that have fostered domestic growth and reduced reliance on external forces.
So
in this like global economy, by the way, what Russia's doing is trying to buy time. So I'm not really, it's not like Putin wanted to devalue the currency this long. It's going to have extremely bad effects in the long run. I mean, Joni Harris. Russia's going to have to deal with the inflation at some point. They're underneath a war economy right now still, so it's going to be delayed. But, I mean, devaluing your currency, like every extremely, even a neoclassical economist here is 100% correct. You're going to have an inflationary response at some point. And I'm not sure if domestic growth in the way that this is being described is that good, because Russia is not really using money to do that. They're not really fostering new technology or shifting any of their exports. They're just doing war economy still. So, I mean, that's not going to prepare them domestically for the future. I don't think it's going to fucking matter if they can make some food. I mean, one of the reasons I'm pretty sure Russia wants Ukraine back is because it has arable land. Most of Russia is not arable, so I guess it can feed its own population, but it doesn't really have good farmland. I don't think anyone had the idea of a brittle regime until Russia couldn't fucking defeat Ukraine in the time that we all thought it could. No, I don't really know anyone who was like, yeah, Ukraine's going to last, but here they are today. So this is more of a contemporary thing. I'm not really sure why they're playing into that, because that was most definitely not the paradigm before the war.
A calculated strategy, not just dumb luck.
Exactly. And he goes on to challenge that whole image.
Obviously, it's not dumb luck. They know what they're doing. I'm sure they probably export some type of but mainly they're gonna be, I think, steel or steel. What the fuck is the word for something that's like a product, not a product, but like a factor into it. Doesn't matter. Oil, steel, I believe some other rare minerals, uranium, certain types of uranium. Why would we want Russia to win quickly? I mean, I don't think the Ukrainians want that, that's for sure. Or else they wouldn't be fighting to the death on behalf of that not happening, right? No, it's not going to help you. In fact, you're going to be more of a target if you have a bulletproof vest on, one that's going to require lethal rounds. Probably, I wouldn't make yourself a target like that. I think if you are going to protest, I would just be extremely careful and aware of your surroundings. Try not to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And have an exit plan. Don't just like go there with none. Have like a real plan. You know what I mean? My advice.
Of a brittle.
I was gonna look this up. My bad. I think we should look it up. The religious persecution? What are you talking about? Are you about to bring up the Russian propaganda shit? In the Donbass and everything? That's a very old propaganda piece. 2013, 2014 even. What specific religious persecution are you talking about? Yeah, I don't. Why did we think food? Who thought agriculture would be like? I was in my head. I'm like, I don't really think so, man. But iron and steel is what I thought. Precious metals and oil. That was pretty much spot on. Top 3. I don't know how I remember that. Precursors. Steel needs precursors. So that's the word I couldn't remember. Almost no food, by the way. I didn't want to like say that was wrong right off the bat. I wanted to go look it up, but they don't really have agriculture in Russia. Like in the USSR, they had a lot of farmland, a lot of arable land, but I mean, Russia doesn't really have that much arable land. %7.4%. All the countries that were a part of USSR, though, I mean, they had a lot more. Ukraine has a lot, I think. 56.8. Lithuania and all them, right? Where the fuck is it? Lithuania is 36.8. Estonia, 16. You know, every single country that used to be in the USSR had a lot of arable land. But Russia, not so much, man. Yeah. How come you thought there was agriculture in Russia? I'm confused.
A oppressive regime, the kind that's about to.
I mean, okay. Oppressive regime. Putin is a dictator who has murdered his political opponents since I graduated high school now, maybe even a little bit before that. What part of Russia is not an oppressive, like authoritarian regime state at the moment? There are no elections. That is a fucking lie. I just, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck. I don't. What is the point of trying to sow like some, it's this whole image of a brutal oppressive regime. Like why are we trying to diminish that idea?
Crack under.
About maybe the brittle part? I'm not sure yet, though. The jury's still up on that one.
Pressure.
I'll only see in the headlines.
He highlights the freedom Russians have to emigrate, the lack of.
Okay. Really? What about the freedom to run for election? Are you joking? Dude, you got the freedom to get the fuck out or die, probably. What kind of freedom is that? Why are we calling that freedom?
Putin's government. All these factors suggest a certain level of societal contentment that contradicts the narrative we often hear in the West.
It's all.
Clearly, this woman has never spent a single second trying to understand authoritarian regimes, because people obviously aren't protesting every second of every day. That would be retarded.
Almost like he's painting.
And it's one of the reasons that authoritarian regimes are dangerous and kind of come out of nowhere. Because this is exactly what you would expect people to do. Submit.
A picture of a Russia.
Who's going to take on Putin in Russia? Everyone who's tried is dead. Is that contentment or is that submission?
That's far more robust and self-sufficient than we in the West give it credit for.
I don't fucking care, actually.
Precisely. And this ties directly
I honestly
into
don't
his
even care
analysis
what
of
that
Ukraine.
statement's supposed to mean.
He argues that the West has also fundamentally misunderstood Ukraine. We've bought into this rather simplistic portrayal.
Yeah, I've heard Putin talk about this himself. Putin says some extremely retarded shit, and he makes it seem like the propaganda, again, from like 2013, there's Nazis there. It's not that much. Again, it has a lot of, like, as a percentage of the country, it's really low. And most of those countries that used to be a part of the USSR on the European side have more farmland. Most of Russia is a tundra.
Trail of
It's like permafrost. The Western European side, okay? Like, you can't farm anywhere on this. Like, it's impossible. It's just frozen ground. So, obviously, Siberia is what this is probably a photo of. Why care about percentage? Here. I get what you're saying. We'll just pull it up again. Or actually, just go to Google Earth. Well, here, if we're gonna be talking, you have a mind and a half. I'm not sure if that's a diss or if that's a if we just take Ukraine for instance, okay? So the western side of Russia that you were just mentioning has a lot of arable land, right? The reason we care about this is because if you want to get the other resources in Russia, then you need people to live there, right? So if everything is here because the only place you can grow food and live and eat is here, then how in the fuck are you going to convince people to get to the other side of this fucking country to then try and domestically tap into the resources that are available? How would you do that? Is there really any reason to fucking move to Salakahard to fucking, go live in a quarry if you can only buy 3 items of food because no one's gonna fucking ship that. There's barely any roads even going out here for the most part. You see how this is more complex than just like, well, they have a ton of land right here in this one fucking tiny. And even then, when I say it's not a lot of land, I really do mean it. Like, it's not. Didn't I just showed you the exports, right? It wasn't really that much. It's not an agricultural export country, that's for sure. I think we can at least agree to that, right? Well, it is very old propaganda. Why don't you give me a report so we can look into it? I'm happy to look into it with you. It's 5th? Where do you see that? Oh, this is 2021. This is old. One sec. I didn't realize I was looking at something so old. Do we even have their exports anymore? There we go. We don't even have an updated figure for this? I mean, that would make sense. %. Fuel and energy is 63. Metals 10%, machinery 7, chemicals 7, foodstuffs and agriculture 5. That's not a lot. I mean, we can look at like Ukraine, for instance, right? Ukraine is mainly going to be, it's going to almost, if I'm not mistaken, be almost just, actually Ukraine hasn't really been able to do this in a long time though, right? But Ukraine's export by category is, you say 70 million tons? 70 megatons, right? Or 70 million tons. Like, Ukraine is somewhere that has better land to do this. And again, the main question is, for Russia to like use the rest of its land, it needs, there's nowhere here you can grow food. So no one's going to be able to allow it, like no one's going to live out there so you can tap the resources. That does matter.
Of a unified nation yearning for Western-style democracy.
The plucky underdog fighting for freedom.
Yes, but as Todd points out, Ukraine has a complex and often turbulent history. He goes into those deep linguistic and cultural divides, the influence of oligarchs, the weakness of the urban middle class.
Yeah.
It's far more nuanced than the picture we often get.
Right, it's not quite the united front we see presented in the media.
He argues that Ukraine, as a state, is heavily reliant on Western aid and may lack the genuine popular support needed to truly stand on its own. He even goes so far as to call it an artificial construct propped up by external forces.
It's a bold statement, that's for sure. Whether you agree with his
hell?
assessment or not, it certainly challenges the prevailing narrative.
It does make you question some assumptions. And when you look at it through Todd's lens, the conflict in Ukraine takes on a different dimension. It becomes less about good versus evil and more about a clash of civilizations, each with its own internal complexities and vulnerabilities.
So not as black and white as it's often portrayed.
What the fuck is this Russian propaganda? How much does Russia pay these people?
Precisely. And this brings us to what might be the most unsettling part of Todd's argument. His analysis of the West's self-inflicted decline. He doesn't hold back.
Self-inflicted decline?
Here.
No, he lays out a pretty damning critique.
Hmm.
He claims that this defeat we're facing,
Did he steal this critique from people in the West who make this critique themselves? Because trust me, there's no end to those motherfuckers.
from our own internal weaknesses. Things like the decline of Protestantism, the rise of this disconnected elite, and a sort of creeping nihilism that prioritizes self-interest above all else.
Imagine thinking Putin is not a self-interested elite. Disconnected elite.
Really scathing in his assessment of what he calls the meritocratic elite. This system that he argues has produced a class of leaders who are completely detached from the needs of ordinary people.
Out of touch,
Bro.
you might say.
Yes, obsessed with abstract ideas, blind to the realities on the ground. It's as if, in his view, the very foundations of Western society are crumbling beneath our feet.
He paints a bleak picture.
And
the
Russia
decline
is
of
offering
traditional
something
values,
better?
the atomization of society, this obsession with identity politics, he sees these as symptoms of a deeper moral and intellectual decay.
A loss of purpose, perhaps.
Exactly. The West has lost its sense of direction.
All of that
its
right there
guiding
is just
principles.
worthless fucking garbage. Every single word that just came out of their fucking mouths was a further descent into the stupidity that is identity politics. Like, what is the better alternative? To be too busy focused on killing each other? You know, for like world domination shit? Or like finally be able to sit down and go like, oh, gay people are kind of interesting. Maybe study them a little. Like, what sounds better, man? A lot of these people think that they'll be fucking really raw, you know, like super tough when like the time comes for them to fucking pick up a gun or something. But like, they're just as annoying and fucking baseless as the people they're trying to criticize right now. They're fucking sitting around pontificating on fucking the Western decline, bro. Like, shut the fuck up.
This is where things get really interesting for me, because Todd doesn't let the United States off the hook.
I bet these people
in fact,
be the
he
first
puts America,
fucking
the
bitches to
supposed
run.
leader of the free world, right in the crosshairs.
He argues that the U.S. is in a state of advanced decline, pointing to things like declining life expectancy, rising inequality, and an economy that's increasingly hollowed out.
You can't use the national U.S. life expectancy because it varies by state. There's 20-year life expectancy differences by state. Does he mention that in this? It doesn't sound like it.
The American dream is over, he says.
Essentially, yes. And he uses some pretty stark examples to back up his claims, like the U.S. dependence on foreign STEM workers to compensate for its failing education system.
Right, he sees that as a clear sign of dwindling technological prowess.
And he's incredibly critical of the U.S. dollar's role as the world's reserve currency.
Okay,
he
this guy's
argues
just paid
that
by
this system
Putin,
allows
right?
America to live beyond
Todd is just paid by Putin. In French. French paid Putin. man.
its means, masking its true economic weakness.
So, living on borrowed time, propped up by a financial...
It's like hitting every talking point I can think of, man. Like, what part of this is not like simple just Putin propaganda? Putin loves this. Like, what is the alternative presented here, though?
System that's ultimately...
What is the alternative presented? Do I have to go read this book?
Unsustainable.
Precisely. And this brings us to another layer of
Is Russia what we should aspire to?
Todd's argument. The rise of what he calls the rest.
He's not just talking about the decline of the West in isolation.
No, I have nothing against Russia specifically. It's just Russia is unfortunately ruled by a ruthless fucking man who will kill anyone and do anything. And he has nuclear weapons, okay? Like, I'm not like what is here? How about this? Instead of critiquing the clearly stupid propaganda that this is, how about we just ask ourselves, what exactly is the role of this book? You hope Russia gets dismantled? Or dismantles?
It's about a global power shift, with the rest of the world waking up to the West's vulnerabilities and seeking alternatives.
He argues that the war in Ukraine is a catalyst for this shift. It's pushing countries away from the West and towards new alliances. We see these strengthening ties between Russia, China, other non-Western nations, and this, he claims, is evidence of a new world order emerging.
A multipolar...
Okay, yeah. I just want to be very clear here, okay? What's happening is the West is not falling into decay because of gay people. I guess indirectly. Because identity politics and populist movements are crippling liberal democracies right now. Countries that do well, when liberal democracies do not do well, can we think of which ones are doing well that are led by leaders that are not liberal democracies? So like authoritarians generally are going to look better, more confident during times of populism around the globe. This is historically something that we can see as far back as 105 years ago. 107 technically, if you want to start when Mussolini first started taking his populism to what we know today. And then communism is no different. But it's not because of fucking, gay people. That's retarded. It's because the West has implemented an economic policy and its hegemonic thought that is crippling the future generation that is now me and slightly older than me and below me. No, I meant it. They in this we just heard this. Listen to this part again. This part. This part.
Bleak picture.
And the decline of traditional values, the atomization of society, this obsession with identity politics, he sees these as symptoms of a deeper moral and intellectual decay.
A loss of purpose, perhaps.
Exactly. The West has lost its sense of direction, its guiding principles.
And this is where things get really interesting for me.
Like, I don't even know where to begin with how stupid that fucking is. Okay? I cannot fucking describe how stupid that is. No one fucking gives a flying fuck about that. The problem and the reason everyone's so upset in the US is because it's a very simple reason. And it's why liberal democracies have a curse. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even come close to the reason that people are upset. No one would give a flying fuck about gay rights. Sorry, Dennis. And that you'll understand when I say this, but the reason we have a fascist movement in the US is because people are rightfully upset. This is why Bernie Sanders was the second most popular, probably the most popular, he just didn't get to run. This is why even the most psycho fucking pseudo-conservatives or like alt-right dudes will be like, I like Bernie more than I like Joe Biden. The reason we're in this mess is not because fucking gay people and stupid identity politics. It's because there's a mismatch between the expectation that people thought they were going to get and the reality in which we are living in economically. So the 50s and 60s and 40s had extremely good outcomes. And then we were essentially promised that, right? The expectation was there, and it's not there because of stupid ass government policy and hegemonic economic policy. I don't know. This is not the book, but I just, it's not even a fucking factor whatsoever. And the way they are talking about it, okay? Obsessed, atomization, crumbling beneath our feet. The foundations of Western society are crumbling beneath our feet. And it's because of traditional values being decline of traditional values. Like, I don't know how you can get more like that is the main cause. The very foundations of Western society are crumbling because this bleak picture where society is obsessed with identity politics, of deeper moral intellectual decay. No, dude, everyone is mad because the US has stupidly created government policy that's made it so our expectations and our outcomes and what we are getting are completely in mismatch. No one can buy a home. There's no future. So people get mad, and they have a right to. I'm mad. No one likes the government right now. So another problem with liberal democracies. This is why it's really important to know that fascism is like born out of liberal democracies. That is something that has been written about long before this time, products. I'm not sure what the point of that is. These polarizing issues are taking advantage of the real problem. Because people are upset that they don't have a job anymore. They can't buy a home, and they don't know what to be angry at, Grand. That's the problem. The Hassan topic? No, the technological progression part, spiritual decay. No, that's ridiculous. How can you even make that claim? It's not that standard of living is higher, by the way. It's that the cost is like the parity per person is lowered, but the costs have gone up. So that means like your parents, the generation before us, had a different they didn't really have an expectation because it was right after World War II. Like our grandparents, for instance, their expectation was it was met and more. And then for our generation, our expectation is completely below what we're getting. Now, that kind of implies that like we deserve it. That's not the point. What it does, I think, show, and it's a good way, and I think, to say it, is that it means that people are upset, and this is a good reason why. And then they look for things to blame. And then people with really simple, clear, oftentimes pervasive answers will tell you what they think the problems are. Because spiritual decay, how about if I asked you right now, how exactly are you going to define spiritual decay? What would you define that as? Is it like metal music or something? Art not looking the way you want it to? What does that even mean, man? Religion? That's definitely not in decay. I think that's been true for a long time now. Support for gay marriage probably reduced because people have to choose a side now when they vote, no matter what, and it's becoming more extreme. But those are the solutions, the offerings. Trump will go out there and say women in men's sports because he's trying to tell you that he knows the solutions, and dumbass people who don't know what is actually causing them to not be able to own a home are going to be like, I guess it's the fucking gay people. But really, it's just dumb government policy. Okay. I'm an atheist, by the way, but if you hang out on my channel a lot, you probably realize that's just not even close to being true. Because I love talking about religion. So what you think is spiritual decay and what that actually means are two different things. I think social media, I don't think so. Social media is bad. I think has a lot of negatives, but this is not a novel thing, guys. We've already been through this. These types of movements, like the populism movements, present themselves 105 years ago. It's the same fucking thing. When liberal democracies are not working because they move slow on purpose, people want to break them to get things done. It's that simple. Communism, fucking fascism. Because both of those things are like, I have answers. And they're not really answers, man. But they are dressed up like really good answers. And they usually just become something far worse. We can. There's nothing wrong with questioning classical liberal presuppositions, but if you think fascism is an answer, then I think historically you probably have to reckon with the fact that it's not. And what it does is it allows for the foundations of classical liberal democracy, right, to be stripped away on behalf of a strong man who you just have to hope doesn't fucking take your country over when it's vulnerable. I say that all the time. Yeah, it's not socialism, but communism, yeah. Fascism and communism end up in the same place. So, yeah, I definitely say that. Nothing will be the true representation of a free society, Grant. That's a fantasy. And I already said that I do agree that people have a right to be upset. But I don't want to break my country and its constitution to try and let Trump fix that. Everything about that man has shown me that he does not care about doing any fixing. So, I don't know. You shouldn't really feel comfortable in this spot right now, giving all of that power and potentiality to Trump, because Trump has said his entire life what he would do with it, and that is kill you or fuck you over. Like he gives no fucks about you, right? So that's the worst person I can think of to be in the position to take care of this. Okay, I don't like anyone, because at least liberal democracies have levers where it can inhibit people from doing Kim Jong-un type shit, you know? I didn't say it was the best, and it probably won't be the best in the future. It's just the best we have right now. If it breaks, then there'll probably be a lot of consequences. Because it's really easy to say that until the moment that you have to bury, you know, like your family or something like that. Platitude? Your statement or mine? Because I think mine's not a platitude. I think people are fucking bitches deep down most of the time. People say a lot of things like, you know, I hope it breaks. I hope, you know, anarchy happens. And then when anarchy does happen, they're the first fucking bitches to start running. So the other problem with the types of movements that these are is that they end up, the issue, we're hearing a podcast from Emmanuel Todd, I guess, and so far, I just find this to be pro-Putin fucking garbage. There's nothing actually critiquing the West here. It's just fucking further proliferation of all the fucking stupid ideas that people think are actually the reason that the West is suddenly in a position of vulnerability. And it has nothing to do with actual government policy or, like, you know, in my opinion, dominant economic hegemony in political thought. So, but what it does say is that the foundations of the West are crippled because gay people, in a way, which I just find fucking ridiculous. It's just such a stupid misunderstanding of it. Okay. Now, give me your alternative. Give me your alternative. Let me hear it. What would Trotix do? What is the aspiring model here? If you could change the West with a magic wand right now, what would you do? No, I want you to give me your honest opinion. If you could change the West right now with a magic wand, what would you do? What are those roots? It sounds like you want to go back to the roots. Orthodoxy what? The West was never founded in Orthodoxy, by the way, so I don't know what you're talking about. You mean Greco-Roman? Because when you say the West, are you talking about like Greco-Roman? Or are you talking, even then, there's no Orthodoxy there either. Greco-Roman spans a fucking ton of centuries and has completely different ideas throughout the entirety of it. So what Orthodoxy are you talking about? Don't get me wrong. I am I'll just read the whole thing first. Okay. Is Trump a principled leader with good principles? Maybe. Yes or no? Okay, well, that's who we're going to get. Because that's what happens. So, do you want it to break still? Has the East devolved on these guiding principles or what? What is the East doing in this? What has the East done in this scenario? And how would you classify the East? Devolved by Western influence. So why are you even bringing up the West? Why not just call it the world? What part of the East would you like? I personally, if you want my opinion on this right now, I don't care about East-West shit. I just feel like it's 1984 style fucking, you know, we've always been at war with Oceania type shit. But I want to know your opinion. I'm not falling for any scare tactics, man. It's already over, by the way. He won. What is more complex than what Trump is doing and what he has already done, and how I think there is no way to go back now? What kind of scare tactic am I falling for? Do I look like someone who generally has like a fear-mongering or moral panic attitude? Tsarist Russia? So you want a monarchy. Why would you want a monarchy? At least the guitar sounds better. Well, kind of. Ah. Okay, I need a fucking... What? Separation? What do you mean? What? I'm totally lost on your comment. Can you rephrase that for me? I think it most accurately resembles reality. What? How does a monarchy or any government accurately resemble reality? What part of reality does a monarchy or even a democracy resemble? I never said secession. It's not, no. How does a family have any semblance of control over other families? What? A monarchy is a unilateral, autocratic individual, usually by birth or by divine right, okay, that has complete and absolute decision making. So a family doesn't even have that. A dad has not absolute decision making over another person, even in a family. So what do you... No, it means renew. It means the Third Reich or something. It means something new. Break the government. Break the Constitution. It means palingenetic nationalism in this regard. It means the destruction of the Weimar Republic or Italy's constitutional monarchy, I guess. That was a constitutional monarchy still, though, so. Because that's how fascism has always been historically worked, or how it has always worked. It's never been any different. It needs a liberal democracy to even exist. There are no countries on planet Earth, even in Chile. They all are born, every time a fascist country, or even a communist country most of the time. Honestly, yeah, no, seriously. Every time I've actually looked into what people think their definitions of these stupid governments are. Oh, well, this country was like an anarchist commune. Shut the fuck up. Every time a country is devolved into some populism, or not devolved, that's a bad word to use, but has decided that populism, fascism, or communism is now the answer it wants, it is authoritarian all of a sudden. And it's usually always born out of a liberal democracy. Okay. Weimar deserved to fall. Why? And then second, I'm not sure you understand the implications of that statement. You think it was essential, necessary for the Nazis to be a thing? Because the Weimar deserved to fall, I guess. I mean, that's what it takes. 80 million people in World War II dead. I know how it gained leadership too. A bunch of fucking judges throughout the judicial system were still owed a lot of allegiance to fucking the Kaiser. Made a lot of decisions and precedents in the court system that enabled this populist alt-right rise to happen, as well as the reparations from the First World War being far too strong, the renewal of the German currency after the 1921 to 23 hyperinflation because they had to print so much money to fucking get out of debt. I know all about this in the interwar period. It's just, what are you talking about? We don't need the Third Reich. We don't need 80 million people to die to somehow justify the Weimar Republic was bad. With Tiny Mustache Man? Who's Tiny Mustache Man? Oh, you mean Hitler? I have an idea, but somehow I don't think it's going to be the same thing. I mean, Hitler was influenced a lot by the First World War. So because a lot of the judges were beholden to the Tsar, because when they switched from a Tsar to the fucking the Weimar Republic, they didn't have anyone else to be the judges still. So how? They had no one else to be the judges, so like they just stayed judges, and they obviously ruled against the Weimar Republic for decades after that. How the fuck is that the Weimar's fault? I don't. What the hell? We just kill them or something? All liberal democracies have this flaw, Brand. And what I'm going to ask you right now is that is a fact that the design is going to have flaws. But I want you to tell me right now, what is your alternative? And what I'm getting from this is that I think you think the United States deserves to be broken up. Because that's the only outcome right now. So what is your alternative? What do you think would be better? Because every single government and style of government, monarchy, constitutional monarchy, republic, is this like an anarchy take? Okay, who gets to decide that? And how in the world is this a real possibility? Do you think Western China, in a province like do you think Xinjiang is going to want to leave the rest of China? Not get any more assistance from the more urban, productive sectors? And do you think Eastern China is going to want that to happen? What if when these states break up, they start fighting each other again for land? Because Tibet here doesn't have any fucking food. So they just invade Qinghai. This is just a literal fantasy, dude. Well, how do you solve these things then? Oh, fuck, you're fucked. I'm sorry. Your state has no food. In the U.S., why don't we just go in the U.S. real fast? Yeah? You know how hard it is to grow food in New Mexico? If the U.S. was broken up, then what the fuck are they going to do? Um, I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one. I don't think so. Hey, Bartio. But like, infinite number of years possibility? Probably. I don't know. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Certainly not in my lifetime. Certainly not in the next 10 generations. Is that the same type of violence that would occur if Tibet suddenly had no way to make food, or Xinjiang? What kind of violence are we talking about? Like, how would you cut them up? How would you cut up Germany? The largest. Sure. I think it's retarded. Trump is doing a lot of damage there. And it's all on behalf of some stupid identity politic idea that climate change is somehow like fake and wrong, and he just has to commit to it now. Okay, and the Anglos didn't cause any fucking problems by doing that, did they? None at all. Like, zero problems here. Can't think of any.
Because Todd doesn't let the United States off the hook. In fact, he puts America, the supposed leader of the free.
Yeah, Texas is one of them. Well, Texas actually, that flood whole ordeal they had, Texas had the money from the government, from FEMA, to do it, but they just diverted it to something else. They diverted it to like the police department instead of just paying for it, and the town voted against it or something like that. I can't remember. It was something fucking stupid like that.
World, right in the.
Where? The United States? You're on. Grand, if you're still in here, do you know the voting percentages during the 1933 election for Germany by province? Have you ever looked that up? Just curious. There is hope for change, Gran. 300 years since the United... Okay. 300 years the United States has been around, okay? And we have not had to have radical change, but we have gotten radical change. That's a testament to the fact that this document here, the Constitution, the Constitution is a good thing. No, the rural areas were pro-Nazi. The largest province in the center was not. And the smaller provinces essentially took over. So what do you think would happen if it was split up? Because it was split at the Third Reich. That didn't work out too well, though, right? We ended up with the Third Reich everywhere. But if you want change, the Constitution allows for it. It's a testament to how good the document is, really. It's not infallible. I'm not like a fucking, oh my God, the fucking originalist guy, right? It's just the very fact that we've been able to go 250 years and not destroy the country is a testament to how good it is, Grand. That's cool. Very nice. The damage that Trump is going to cause from cutting NOAA is going to be extensive, and we probably aren't going to get the effects really until later, but we'll see.
The crosshairs.
He argues that the U.S. is in a state of advanced decline, pointing.
I'm not really in the business of shifting blame. I like when people take accountability. I don't like shifting accountability 16 times down the road. If someone is a bad person, you probably should hold that person accountable. Can you critique how the West, how Britain, how the League of Nations kind of destroyed German advancement and the reparations were maybe a little too much? Yeah, you can. But at the end of the day, who the fuck started World War II? And it was one person. His name is fucking Hitler. And I think we should probably blame Hitler, not blame someone else for Hitler doing Hitler stuff. That's retarded. I like when people take accountability. No, Hitler did it. There's no fucking someone else made you do it. That's the most narcissistic shit I've ever heard. You take accountability for things you do. Hitler did Hitler stuff. No one forced his hand. He was an opportunistic piece of shit who probably was in way over his head at the end of the war, but nonetheless, he tried to grab it anyway. I definitely do not like shifting accountability away from people and the actions they do. That is not something I am cool with. You don't need to make excuses for people most of the time, you know? Excuses are not good. Why is... Again? The state. I don't even know how. I'm not twisting your words at all. Just reread the last sentence again. Just reread the last sentence to yourself and try to understand how that is in no way me twisting your words. Hogan Trust? Hogan Trust, eh? I have a smaller gauge string I can put on my guitar at least. Let's do that in a second. they had a responsibility to start war? So, Graham, I don't get what you're trying to say right now. Do you not understand how ridiculous the accountability aspect of this is right now? One of those countries was a fascist dictatorship. I don't remember France trying to be that one. What is the goal of what you're trying to say here? Whether or not they did try to stop Hitler from militarizing. If someone is assaulting you, okay, and the very act of you not punching them back is somehow now game for a credence to say that all of a sudden it's flawed and wrong and needs to be dismantled. What the fuck? What are we... Except fascist movements don't start from the state. They start from the people, because the state has failed them. In a different way. But it sure as fuck ain't the fucking fascist way. It is really slow. Oh my god. These strings are still like a little elastic. Okay. I'm feeling it. This is in Phrygian, I think. Phrygian scale? How come this didn't happen in Britain and France? And I'm just going to ask you once again, what is your alternative? What is your alternative? I think it's important. Phrygian mode or scale. Phrygian is a very flatted minor scale. So when you play in a Phrygian scale, or mode, sorry, you're essentially flatting like almost every single fucking note. So it doesn't have any resolution. So like this would be, I'll just do it on piano so I can show you more. This is it on a piano in C. So normally you would have all the white keys, right? But in Phrygian, it's going to be flatted pretty much everything besides the F and the G, right? Yeah. So it'll be, which is conveniently the same thing as F minor. But if you're playing in C, it doesn't have any resolution, so it's good for like lot of dark movement, and then you probably have to shift out of the mode again to go back to like some actual resolution. Pretty cool. Need to be louder though, don't I? Yeah, it is. That's a good thing though, right now. I haven't figured it out yet. Oh. Oh my god, I suck. Solo. This is a very slow song. Little change. This is gnarly slow, bro. Actually, Grand, if you're still in here, if anyone's still in here after that fucking mess of whatever I just did, I was not ready for this song. I felt like I was lost. I'm like, what the fuck do I even do right now? You want to know a good video You know who Three Arrows is? This is an old video now, I think.
Hello, everyone.
I think you
Got
will love this
a
video.
new video for you here, sort of. I recorded this for the podcast, but after listening to the whole thing, I thought you guys might dig it also. So I'm just gonna put it here for
mainly for Grand,
for you to listen to. And without any further ado, enjoy and cue the intro.
We are determined that the vicious German cycle of war, phony peace, shall once and for all time.
How is the question nonsensical? Everything you said is not wrong. The interwar period woes, the inflation was blamed on the Allied countries. Hitler was kind of a cult leader who seemed inept and no one really took him seriously. But the movement, the fascist one, is the one that came out on top. But the question is not sensible. No, it didn't. No, it did not. Hitler did not build the Third Reich expressing anti-capitalist sentiments. That is just fucking disgustingly wrong. Hitler ended up consolidating private and state. That's a fact. But he didn't do it through a communist fucking route. Anyone who thinks Hitler did not promise private companies the luxury and the safety of a government that would not impede them is wrong. Hitler promised a lot of private enterprise. He also got rid of work and labor regulation. He essentially used the state, though, as a tool to give jobs and things like that. So he did deploy a lot of socialist policies, but I'm going to be honest with you. If you really think Hitler gave the impression that he was a communist or something like that, that is just fucking hilarious. I don't think so. Communism as an idea was born out of Marxism, what, in like the 1860s? I guess you could say because Marx is German, but I'm not really, Marx didn't really proliferate communism, even though he wrote the Communist Manifesto. Communism wasn't really like a fully fledged thought, in my opinion, for a long time after that. I think Marxism was more of a thing that people thought of. Grand. The very same people you're talking about right now in the US ask for the same thing, but they still think that they're capitalist. You know that, right? And no, the commies did not have a strong position. The commies were the next largest party at around 27%. I think it's around 27. Somewhere between 24.6 and 27. The SDP party in the 1933 election. So, once again, this is a really good time to show that when liberal democracies are not doing well, then communism or fascism is usually what people choose. Fascism is most definitely not a anti-capitalist thing. It's retarded. But they do both end up in the same place.
Come to an end.
This is London Court. Here is a news flash. The German radio has just announced that Hitler is dead.
Early this morning, the Soviet troops launched the general attack on Hungary.
Those who foolishly sought power by riding the back of the tiger.
There were no social Dems left by the time Hitler was elected. Barely any.
Ended up inside.
Tonight I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. None eyes have seen the...
Say that we are mired in stalemate seems the only realistic, if unsatisfactory, conclusion.
Over 1 million people here celebrating a day that they never thought would come. A day in which Germany became one country again.
Launched the opening salvo of Operation Iraqi Freedom.
If the iron dice must roll, may God help us.
What is up, my lovelies? It's Dan Arrows here, bringing you another episode of the Iron Dice. Admittedly a bit of a gap filler, as I'm working on the next Fight for the Republic. We're getting close to the end of that series, so I need to take some extra time to tie up the loose ends. Anyway, one thing that often comes up in the context of that show is listeners drawing the parallel between interwar Germany and the contemporary United States. Also, if you follow a lot of US political analysis, it's inescapable. And yeah, plenty of people called George W. Bush a Nazi and compared him to Hitler, whatever. But that was very much on the fringe of political commentary, and historians didn't validate that. Now, it's much different. But I don't want to redo the whole is Trump a fascist, pedantic back and forth here. I think that has been regurgitated enough. But I want to talk about the US and Weimar Germany more broadly. What is kind of fascinating about that comparison is that there is a little bit in it for everyone, it seems. Resistance liberals who spend 18 hours a day on Twitter get to LARP as the White Rose or whatever, without experiencing any sort of real danger or stakes to their political stance. People to the left of them get to showcase their moral superiority whenever some centrist Democrat is friendly with Lindsey Graham or whoever, pointing out that this is just like in Weimar, liberals aligning with fascists again. Equally annoying, if you ask me. And even the far right gets in on the action sometimes. 2 months ago, Tucker Carlson did a segment about a fight breaking out at a Pride event between attendees and some idiot protesters. And he began that segment by saying, just another weekend in Weimar. What Tucker means with that exactly, who knows? Could be because political fights are kind of associated with that period, or given it's Tucker Carlson, stepping in the footsteps of the German far right in decrying public degeneracy, whatever. I think it's fair to say that the idea of a democracy in decline, as was the Weimar Republic, greatly resonates in the United States right now, as everyone is looking for a way out of the current crisis.
Yep. SPD, I was pretty close, right? What did I say, 27? 29.8? I mean, the multiple types of communist parties, fucking... Yeah, how many social democrats do you see? The Social Democrat Party is a fucking communist party. God damn it, bro. The SPD or SDP is a communist party.
Unfortunately, a lot of these comparisons revolve
bro,
around
do you actually
Trump
think that
being
meant
the American...
do you think that meant social democracy? There's no fucking way. You're not serious right now, are you?
Hitler.
Have you looked up the SDP before? Yeah, stolen. This is literally a communist party. Hmm. People stole it from him.
Which misses the forest for the trees, in my opinion. When the Nazis took over and turned the country into a fascist dictatorship, German democracy had been functionally dead for years. Elections were held, but the results of those elections did not have the potential to make the way for significant changes. After April 1930, the German parliament was in a state of permanent gridlock, paralyzed by the fact that no majority could form, and with no majority, the parliament can't enact laws. And when people see that their country is circling the drain with no means of democratically moving the levers of power, it erodes respect for these institutions and democratic norms more broadly. Now, that might sound a bit familiar to you. And this is just really one aspect of Weimar Germany's institutions failing to provide
I mean, it practically became Communist Party, right? SPD was like, the Communist Party was born out of it. It definitely center left. The point is that the parties in Germany were radical on both sides, or trying to become more radical on both sides, because of shit like
democratic stability. The most topical example, if we're sticking with the comparison of Weimar Germany to
I'm not going to disagree with that. Yeah, but the foundation of the SPD is, even if they didn't like that people split with them. This woman is a Marxist, but I mean, she was one of the Rosa Luxemburg was one of the largest people to contribute to the SDP. So, and they didn't like the split, but nonetheless, a lot of the SDP was very much rooted in Marxism, in communism. Gran, you haven't answered my question yet, then. What system would you want? And if you think there's a system with no design flaws, I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, the Communist Party splintered from the SDP, and the SDP only really targeted them not because of the fact that they disagreed slightly, but because they were bitter about it, and the SPD had more power, or SDP, I mean. Correct, but the roots of the SPD were still like very much Marxist and communist. I wouldn't really call them. I guess I can't really just say that is the Communist Party, though. I definitely was wrong in saying that. That's for sure. But closely tied. I mean, a lot of the people in the SDP or SPD, by the time that Hitler's election happened, very much wanted a movement as well. So more radicalized. That didn't really happen, though. Okay, well then, Grand, your system has a flaw. Yeah. Not with Rosa Luxemburg split. Absolutely not. A secular republic which doesn't require individuals to sacrifice freedom for the state or in the face of danger. A state that lacks laws has no laws at all. That's not a real thing. That's a fantasy. A spectrum of laws? How the fuck does that work? How would you even have safety then? Well, unfortunately, in your system, the flaws would allow someone next to you to fucking get 2 dudes instead of 1 and kill you. And there's nothing you can do about it. Do you think it's just going to be that simple? People are just going to stay away from you?
To the United States is the courts. In the wake of Roe v. Wade, belief in the Supreme Court as an impartial, nonpartisan institution has bottomed out, hitting its lowest point on record, as even the last person who didn't get the memo in 2000 after Bush v. Gore realizes what the Supreme Court actually is. We talked a little bit about this in the Fight for the Republic series, but the existence of openly right-wing courts was something that constantly dragged down German democracy in the 20s and arguably dealt it its lethal blow. So let's talk about that first. Contrary to the current situation in the United States, the German judiciary didn't have to be captured by the right wing in a decades-long project. It pretty much was right-wing from the get-go. Quick look at the timeline here. Germany unifies in 1871 as a monarchy, and judges and state officials more broadly undergo a so-called patriotic education, connecting their function as a judge not to the law or higher ideals, but the Kaiser and the monarchy more broadly. Fast forward to 1918, Germany isn't doing so well in the World War anymore. unfortunately. And when the word gets round about this, sailors in the northern port cities tell their superiors to get lost. They put up the red flag over the German navy, and from there the revolution spreads from city to city, toppling the monarchy like a row of dominoes. The Kaiser flees into exile, and a new government is put in place, now tasked with creating a democratic republic. So far, so good. Now put yourself in those guys' shoes. You are facing this gigantic task of creating a democracy from whole cloth, transitioning the economy back from its war state, and negotiating an exit from the war, all while not being overthrown by a right-wing counter-revolution. The thing about the German Revolution in 1918 was it all happened very, very fast. From the sailors refusing to take orders to the Republic being declared in Berlin, it's not even 2 weeks. So there was no time for a broader social change affecting every layer of society. Now, if you are the German government, the new German government, what do you do with these right-wing judges and state officials that keep things running? Basically, you only have two options. First option, make a clean sweep and kick them all out. Try to put in your own people and create a democratic institution that way. Problem with that is, who are you gonna put in their place? There is no one who can immediately fill those roles who has not undergone the same education as these guys. Without all the bureaucrats, it also means the state apparatus pretty much grinds to a halt, creating instability. That instability will be associated with the republic in the minds of the public and make this new system seem chaotic compared to the old one. You also drive all these judges and state officials further to the arms of the right wing that is working on overthrowing you from minute one. So just kicking everyone out kind of seemed like slitting your own throat to the government at the time. The second option you have is letting these people keep their positions, make them swear allegiance to the republic and a new constitution, change the education system, and hope that they will kinda grow into the new system. The issue here is, of course, that you now have a huge part of the state that is hostile to democracy and actively undermines the government when given the chance. The right-wing judges in particular are now in a position where they can legally sanction actions against the state through their rulings. That is the route the German government took at the time, and in doing that, instead of slitting...
I'm not making assumptions, man. I'm telling you reality. I'm just telling you reality. You won't be able to defend yourself. It's just a fact. I'm not trying to fearmonger you or anything. It's a fact. I'm not deluded either. The reason that fascism and some of these ideas are like, no. The reason that fascism is like appealing, remember, is because there is truth in a lot of the fascist ideas. Okay? It preys on the small truth, though. Is he... which guy was he again? He's not this guy, right? He's I think one of the guys in the beginning, I think. Oh, him. Yeah.
My final claim is that atheists accept Christian morality, but deny the religion's foundational stories. Hi there.
It's very nice to meet you.
What's your name?
I'm Ian.
Hi, Ian.
Yes. So God says that you can own people as property. He says that you can beat them with a rod too. He commands genocide in Deuteronomy, in Numbers, and in Samuel. I mean, they have a God goddamn baby.
Then you'd have nothing. I think you should read Machiavelli. I think you should read The Prince.
Baby barbecue in numbers. Like,
you have no guarantee. No, you don't. You don't have security at all. The moment it looks like you are going to lose, no one will be there.
is all of this in line with Christian
That's how it works.
ethics?
No.
So then God doesn't fit within Christian ethics.
Well, the biblical library is a continuing story, and everything written in it has to be
He's an anti-theist.
contextualized by the entire text. There's 65,000 hyperlinks in the biblical text.
What? That's a fucking... I forgot he says that fake fucking statement. He's in like BibleGateway.com. Fucking...
You can take pieces of it out of
Like, some study Bibles have a lot of connections.
context and criticize them, and that's what you're doing. But that's a mistake, I think. It's an analytic mistake because you're putting the cart before the horse.
I really don't think so. I think
Yeah,
that
no,
if
you
we say that something is Christian ethics, then I think that all of the books essential to Christianity would fit with it, especially if it's like the main character. When we're talking
How
about
do you deal with
God,
the morality of war?
So
how do you think you should deal with the
Sure,
morality
sure,
of
sure.
war?
I hate both of these questions and statements right now. I mean, he doesn't have to. In the same way I'm asking Grand to give me an alternative for a better government right now. I'm not God, so in this conversation, that doesn't really mean anything to say that. It's kind of stupid that he's... This guy doesn't have a Bible and is not claiming to, you know, be the point of moral understanding and truth. But this kid's anti-theist.
Sure, because I feel like
And that 65,000. No. People can be rotten. People can be unprincipled. And people may not really care about freedom. So we build a system that inhibits them from acting on those things. That's what you mean to say, right? I'm sorry. When has the U.S. failed? And is it not one of the longest lasting countries with obviously a really horrible fucking racial history, but for its entire existence, it's been a liberal democracy to people included. There's obviously criticism there, but would you rather have Somalia or like Russia? What is going on here? Yeah. I mean, it's annoying to me whenever I have to hear it because, once again, it's like someone's making the mistake that they're criticizing religion for. Where they're like making a metaphysical claim, which you can't really make true metaphysical claims, right? There is a unfortunate barrier, right? Because we can't really observe metaphysical claims. So when someone's like, obviously there's no evidence for God, that means he can't exist. They're kind of making the same mistake as someone who asserts all the evidence and makes the metaphysical claim only inversely this time, right? That's why it's annoying to me.
the morality, like I feel like Christian ethics, like this is kind of, I guess I just think it's like kind of an absurdity to say that God doesn't fit within Christian ethics, but sure, well, we can go on my ethics. That's totally fine.
I don't know what you mean by an absurdity. What game are you playing with
Well,
that
I just think
question?
that it's an absurdity to say that the Christian God doesn't fit within Christian ethics, that like the Christian
I
God
didn't
isn't
say
like
that.
Christian
I
ethical.
said that the specific statements that you made don't take the context of the stories into account, and so
The context isn't that much better, man.
that you're
Yeah, I'm always open to it.
analytical approach is faulty.
Does that mean it's going to happen? That one I can't say for sure, but I mean, I try to be at least, right? Try to always be open.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Sure, then let's go through
Thank
the
you.
example. Yeah, so, and I apologize. So let's go through the example. So in 1 Samuel 15:3, God says, go and slaughter the Amalekites.
This is the Amalekites and spare no women and children.
Slaughter the men, the women, the
Yeah.
children, the infants. What's the justification
The context there is not good, so
for that? Is that in line
That's a
with
good
Christian
question.
ethics?
That's a good question.
because of idolatry.
I don't really know what to do with the terrible blood-soaked sat.
Okay, well, the Bible contextually does, Jordan. I don't, it's not bad faith. No, I just, it's not bad faith. I actually agree with you quite a bit. I'm pretty anti-establishment. I see someone who's trying to make liberal democracy a mortal enemy. And, you know, if you want to talk about the flaws of liberal democracy, they're here. Fascism is a flaw of liberal democracy. That's a fucking fact. We're not arguing in that sense, right? It's just, I don't know what you are trying to do here. One of them is worse, and it's fascism, irregardless. Because not every liberal democracy means you're going to have fascists. That's not true. So, what exactly are you trying to say? That we should do your destruction of the state type thing? Because then we won't have any protection whatsoever. It's just not a real. It's not a real argument. It's like a free market libertarian type thing where, no, it's just not a reality. It's metaphysical, maybe. I don't know.
Saturated history of the human past.
It just isn't gonna give you the outcome you want ever. It will never do that.
I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows. I mean, what you try to do in your own life, as far as I can tell, is to conduct yourself in a manner that makes such things.
And also, I was gonna say, contextually, the Bible does say why, Jordan. If I'm not mistaken, in Samuel. Yeah, Joe Foley and Alex are I think so. Even though, I mean, he'd probably give you the same answer I did, but in Samuel, God specifically, if I'm not mistaken, says it because of idolatry, right? So contextually, I don't know what Jordan is saying here because this is not out of context now. Samuel's pretty brutal in this regard. Should be before Kings, right? Yeah. The Ammonites crushed. Well, yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry. I just stopped reading your comment. So, Grand, I think what you mean to say is, which, by the way, the liberal democracy that the U.S. is, if you read the Federalist Papers, have you ever read the Federalist Papers? Have you read this? Do you know what this is? God, can you fucking, Hamilton? Sorry, I was going to get back to your thing. I just want to, yours is going to be a little bit longer, Samurai. Graham, you do know liberal democracies can account for what you want. Decentralization. Oh. Stream. Why does it keep fucking breaking right now? What's going on? Why does it keep breaking, bro? Yeah, Samurai. I still I'm gonna respond to your comment. Just let me finish with Grand. I think when I come in. I think Grand's is easier to answer really fast. You know what? You're in here already, aren't you? It looks like everyone's in here already. Holy shit, bro. Okay, so Grand, liberal democracy lets you do what you said. The United States was made and very much thought about what your comment is. Okay. Decentralization, the Federalist Papers, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, they write extensively on this. It's pretty bad in the US. But the US is capable of adopting what you are talking about, decentralizing the power more. So would you want to get rid of liberal democracy then? Or would you just try to advocate for things in ways in which we could actually do that? You know, we shouldn't be breaking the U.S. Constitution and liberal democracy because I think it's good. I think it's a good thing. Sounds amazing. The fuck?
Things much more.
And then Samurai, for your question. Damn it. Then each individual state would become a federal one. No matter what you do, Grand, there will be some point of centralization. And the outcome you are going to get now is going to be bad. It's not better. No. How would you define that as better? I am presupposing some outcomes right now, but I want you to tell me how you think, using some historical reference, that it's going to be better. How? And while I answer Samurai, while you're coming up with this answer, I'm going to ask you a very important question too. Because you do know a lot of the cons of centralization in a federal government. I want you to tell me the pros without looking it up. I want you to tell me what the positives are, or if you know them at all. Because it's easy to know the cons of something that you despise, but what are the positives of a federalized government? Because we keep running into this now, where there is just an abandonment of a central part of why federalization even happens. The founders thought about it. Liberal democracies, Enlightenment thinkers thought about it. It's almost like you're avoiding it. Yeah, I mean, it is. I'm going to bring up that it is annoying whenever someone just uses the Old Testament to try and argue against the Bible. But I think it might be a little bit of like a reflection or like a reflexive tendency that people have, because a lot of the times, you know, like a gay person, for instance, right, will have Exodus thrown at them every day, almost. And then are they expected to not like try and understand how that's wrong from the Old Testament? It's used inappropriately in a multitude of ways. That's not an answer. In smaller states, you're still going to have elites. What is the definition of an elite? And if you don't have collaboration, Gran, what do you have instead? What do you get instead, historically? Good. And what do you think about that? War's a good thing? Or you just think that won't happen in your version? Different or something? What's the claim there? Depends. You just think you're different? I don't know, maybe it's dead again. It might be. It keeps dropping. I mean, it says it's good, but it keeps dropping. Let's see. Something doesn't look good. Stable now, I think. They do still be dropping them. I'm going to pin this one if you want to watch it, Graham. It's a pretty good one. Deconstruction Zone? Is that a creator?
Or unlikely.
I totally agree.
We're all saddled with the problem of the catastrophes that got us here, aren't we?
Yeah, but this one was commanded by God. That's the problem.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what differentiates it from anything else, is that this one, it's God saying, go and do this atrocity.
Do you think that there's ever such a thing as a righteous war?
I'm skeptical. I'm not sure. It would probably be situational.
Well, right, fair
yeah,
enough.
but this one
people...
certainly wasn't a just war. The context for the Amalekite slaughter is that 400 years earlier, they fought one battle, which they lost, and God says, that's it, I'm going to wipe them off the face of the
imaginary
damn earth. And then 400...
I mean, there's a lot of young atheists who are fucking insufferable, fucking annoying people, so... I mean, I get it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there has been a lot of doom and gloom lately, a lot to be upset about, and understandably so. But you know what? It can't just all be doom scrolling. It can't just all be doom scrolling. And today, we're actually going to give you the receipts of why I think America's on the verge of a significant comeback. This is not just vibes. Like, we're going to show you very specific indicators. We've showed you indicators before on what happens when the bad things are happening and what happens next. Well, now we've got some really positive things happening, and the specific things happening don't just bode well for the next year or 2 years or...
I mean, I think those two would be really good people to have to give that respect to you. I'm not going to disagree with you, Grant, here, because I think what I am going to disagree with is the idea that humanity is just evil in general. I think I'm not someone who's a good and evil guy. I think the capability is always there, and sometimes it acts out of malice. Sometimes it does not, straight up. Sometimes people's indifference is so disconnected that the malice is removed. It's been desanitized, Nonetheless, it doesn't mean that the wrong is gone, but I think we'd all be lying to ourselves if we didn't try to understand the disconnection and the desanitization that takes place. But like we're all here on computers right now, watching streams. You know, some African had to mine the cobalt for that. I'm sorry. So like, the only way to be pure and live in this world without having gone through that desanitization I'm talking about is just non-existent at all at this point. But with that in mind, I think evil is a little too convenient and simple. I think it's lazy to be like, humans are evil. You know, that's what Charlie Kirk would say that. And it bothered me because it's essentially like throwing your hands up and just saying, I quit, which I think is pathetic. That's my honest opinion. I think it is the act of quitting, just suicide. So,
election cycle, it actually bodes well for the next generation.
Grand, your system has freedom, but what would happen is the amount of freedom that you are giving ends up costing the freedom that you're talking about. That's what will happen. This is a problem of freedom. Too much freedom is not good. It means you will inhibit that freedom. It's in the same way, again, I don't have the freedom to kill someone. Why not? I should be allowed my freedoms, right? The point is that if we allow that, if we just give the unlimited freedom, no system of perpetuated laws that would inhibit me, we'd actually end up with less freedom, even though we technically have more freedom. Because freedom from and freedom to are different things, Grand. At this point, it seems as if you're not understanding the concept of freedom, because it's not just simply a libertarian one. It's not freedom from only, it's freedom to. There's freedom from something, and then there's the freedom to actually do the thing you want to do. Those two are both important in the word freedom. A lot of libertarian psychos, you know, like this guy, Tread on Me, you know, it's on his fucking laptop. They get stuck on the first one, freedom from. That's the only thing they can think about. They just don't understand that freedom is not that simple. Oh, yeah, it does. My bit rate just went like... Bye, bar chip. No, I'm not dismissive of freedom from. I think freedom from is also important. Do you understand this concept? Here. Grand is arguing on behalf of a different governmental system that... Thank you, Bartip. Sorry, it's a little whack right now. Maybe I should turn off YouTube, see if that helps. I'm not even using it anyway, so... Montserrat. I wonder if that helped. Did that help? Work? Bruh. I need to re-put the stream link in 1 sec, sorry. Toggle URL, boom. Properties. Oh, there is no Montserrat. Is that what it is? Oh my. Bruh. Oh, there we go. No, like, I understand what you're saying. I get it. I do. But I want you to try to understand what I'm telling you. Is that okay? I don't dismiss freedom from. That is just not true. It's just not a fact. I understand both the concepts, so. There we go. That, okay. Dismiss the aspect. So, yeah, I turned YouTube off. I don't know. Maybe that helped a bit. Fucking super bright. So, Gran, you understand the concept I'm trying to explain to you, though, right? Like freedom from, freedom to, right? It just got worse again. Oh my god. My Twitch inspector, bro. What is happening? What is going on here? Maybe I should stop streaming to YouTube.